once again, my good friends. Welcome and welcome back to our YouTube channel. This is the Free and Love channel, and my name is Lavoisia. And this channel is all about empowering you. It's all about giving you information. It's all about sharing with you our life experiences. It's all about motivating you. And by sharing with you our life experiences, we can learn a few things together so that together we can achieve, together we can win. It's about winning together. Have you been thinking about taking up a career abroad in an English-speaking country? Have you been thinking about furthering your education in an English-speaking country, taking a career, that high-flying career in an English-speaking country? Then it is time to consider taking the TOEFL test, or test of English as a foreign language. One of the best ways to certify your proficiency in English to your potential employer, company, or school is to have a TOEFL certificate. So today, I'm going to share with you about the TOEFL examination, what it is, and how to pass the examination. So the TOEFL examination actually, it tests your mastery of the English language. It is one of the best proofs you have that you are proficient in English language, and it's recognized internationally in about 190 countries and in about 11,000 universities and institutions. So if you are planning on taking up appointments in international institutions, it is worthy thinking about taking the TOEFL test. So the TOEFL examination validates your competency in listening, reading, writing, and speaking the English language. In fact, if you want to take up a job in some companies like the USA, Britain, Australia, Canada, some of them you'll want to show that you are competent in English by presenting a TOEFL certificate. So beyond just certifying your competency in English language, the TOEFL examination or certificate has several benefits. So the first benefits of a TOEFL examination, apart from securing employment in an English-speaking country or securing a position in a prestigious institution of learning, it is, number one, it will enrich your resume. So having a TOEFL certification in your resume puts you on another level. It puts you on a level of competency. It shows that you are really a comprehensive and highly trained personnel. So another importance of having a TOEFL certification is that it will enable you to get entrance into bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degree programs in most English-speaking nations. So a TOEFL certificate also helps you to get a visa to study in English-speaking countries. So when you are applying for a visa to go and study in English-speaking countries, if you have a TOEFL certification, it adds to your value and competency. I know there are other many English testing examinations, but the TOEFL exam is recognized in about 190 different countries and about 10,000 different universities. So it is one of the most highly recognized English test certifications in the world. So it pays to have it. And if you take a TOEFL examination, the scores are valid for 2 years. So you can take your certification and keep it as you go on applying for your jobs. So there are several TOEFL testing centers all over the world, and we have different TOEFL exams. We have the internet-based exam, which is basically a purely computer-based exam, and we also have a paper-based, which is just a pen and paper examination. So you can choose to take one of the options. So if you are planning to take up a career in an English-speaking country, or to apply for a student visa, or to study in an English-speaking country, it is time you start preparing. It is time you start practicing. It is time you start doing the TOEFL work. It is time to start studying. Don't wait until it is last minute. Start studying now. So I'm going to share with you a few tips on how to study and pass the TOEFL examination. TOEFL exams is divided into 4 parts. We have the reading section, we have the listening section, we have the writing section, and we have the speaking section. So you have to demonstrate your competency in all those 4 areas of English language. So for the reading section, you'll be required to read at least 3 to 4 texts. Then you'll answer about 12 to 14 questions. Remember, this is not a test of knowledge, it's a test of understanding. You have to be able to understand the text. In the listening section, you are required to listen to about 4 to 6 academic classes and then answer at least 6 questions. Answer at least 6 questions for each one. You'll also be required to listen to some everyday conversations and then answer some questions out of it. In the speaking section, you'll be required to answer questions on some familiar topics, some everyday topics. You'll also be required to listen to some information and talk about it. So they are testing your ability to speak the language. They're testing your ability to converse the language, conversational skills. So you must be able to converse in English proficiently. In the last section, or the writing section, you'll be required to write 2 essays of 300 words each. The test basically lasts just for about 4 hours. So how do you go about preparing to pass the test? I'll give you a few tips on how to prepare to pass the TOEFL examination. The first tip is to familiarize yourself with the format of the examination. So I just explained the various formats of the exam. So you have to know what to expect. So when you go to the exam, you know what is coming ahead. So the next tip I will want to share with you is you must have an end game. You must be able to understand why you are taking the TOEFL. If it is going to join a college or to work in a foreign country, you must have an idea of what scores you need to take. So as you start to practice the exam, you must have an idea of the scores that you are planning to achieve. Next tip is please prepare in advance. If you're planning to apply for a visa or to apply for a job in the next 2 years, you better start preparing as early as possible. Please, when you are doing a revision, use high quality material. Don't just pick on any material and start preparing. Look for the materials that will give you quality preparation. Next, I'll talk about how to prepare for the reading section of the test. So the first tip is read as much as possible. Choose a topic, choose some passages in some English books, read them and try to answer a few questions. We also have several sources on the internet that will give you some passages to read and answer questions. So read and answer questions. So when you are reading a passage, please look at the main ideas of the passage, because during an exam you won't have time to scan the material and time is limited. So as you practice, make sure that as you practice, you learn the skill of recognizing the key facts in the text. So read several passages, both academic and non-academic. See how they are structured, how they are organized. Try to write summaries of them. Try to understand them and answer a few questions about them. As you pick up passages, read them and answer questions, at first it might not be easy to understand everything, but practice makes perfect. Practice reading passages and answering questions as much as possible. Practice, practice, practice. Next, I'll talk about how to prepare for the listening section of TOEFL. The first tip is listen to English as much as possible. Listen to podcasts. Listen when you are doing your household chores, when you are jogging on the road. Listen to several podcasts, and if it's a native English speaker, the better for you. Next tip is be familiar with different accents and styles of talking, so that you won't be surprised in an exam when they bring to you an Irish speaker of English. You know, the American accent and the British accent may not be the same. So it's important to be familiar with all the accents so that when the exam comes, you won't be surprised to get a different accent testing you. During a listening exam, you might not be able to pick up every word that the speaker is saying, but you can pick out a general understanding of what the speaker is trying to say. Don't be surprised in the exam. Know what to expect. Don't be surprised in the examination. Listen to some podcasts on the internet, on YouTube, and you can be able to listen to what some speakers will be saying. Next, I'll talk about the speaking section. Understanding English, writing it is one thing, and speaking English is another thing. So it's important to be able to know how to speak English well for you to pass the examination. However, don't be nervous if you cannot speak English properly. I'll give you a few tips on how to pass the speaking part of TOEFL exam. So one of the best ways to learn to speak English is to pay attention to oral expressions. When people talk English, look at how they express themselves. So if you take note of people's oral expressions, look at the oral or mouth expressions and lip movements. That is one of the best ways to take notes and learn a new language. Tip number 2 is to practice speaking with a native speaker. Speak with somebody who understands the language well so that they can be able to correct you when you make a mistake. Practice speaking. You can have a language buddy. Speak to somebody who understands English. Learn to converse with a native speaker of English. Practice speaking English. Don't get used to speaking your vernacular. Speaking English frequently will make you better at it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. One of the reasons people fail to learn is that they are scared of making mistakes. Making mistakes is part of learning. You make a mistake and the next time you correct the mistake. That's how we learn. All of us have made mistakes, and that is why we are where we are now. So mistakes are part of our daily lives. Make them and use them as a teaching moment. Then make use of English in your daily lives. Practice speaking English. You can speak English anywhere, even when you are alone, when you are tidying up your room, when you are on the road walking. Try to speak English, and practice makes perfect. Practice speaking English, even when you are alone, when you are in your room, tidying, cooking, washing dishes, walking on the road. Speak English. You can speak and record yourself and listen to the conversation later on. That's how you improve your skills. Patience is the key to every success. If you were patient, with time you'll get to achieve your goal. So practice patiently, and every day you'll make an improvement. Lastly, I'll talk about the writing section, how to pass the TOEFL writing section. So to practice writing, you practice it through reading. That is a practice through reading. So you can read an article and summarize the main points and have somebody check them. When you are reading and writing, take note of the vocabulary. Have vocabulary flashcards that will help you to improve your vocabulary knowledge. Also enrich your quality of writing. And please ask for feedback. When you read a passage and summarize it and write some points, get an English teacher or get somebody who has gone through the system to read and give you feedback on your mistakes. That's how we learn. Please familiarize yourself with the TOEFL writing test. Look at the format and see what is required. The last tip I want to give you is try to practice doing mock examinations. Do as many mock exams as possible and look at your scores and see if you are improving or not. And please invest in a good material that will help you pass your exams. So it's time for you to start practicing doing your TOEFL exams. Look for the material, look for literature, practice as much as possible. See how your scores are improving. If they're not improving, how you can make them improve, and have that certificate in your hand. So when you go to apply for a college, Remember, I told you certificate is valid for 2 years. So in those 2 years, as you look for your visa, have the TOEFL certificate. So if you're looking for a job abroad, have TOEFL. Don't be caught in an embarrassing situation where, despite all your colorful academic credentials, you cannot be able to pass a simple English examinations. Don't take anything for granted. Start practicing right now. Invest in a TOEFL. It is worthy your time and money. So thank you very much for listening to me. I hope I was able to provide some information for somebody. I hope I was able to motivate somebody, and I hope I was able to give somebody the determination and the power to move on. If this is the kind of content you like, I would like to request you to please subscribe to our channel, the Free and Love YouTube channel, and encourage us to continue making more and more videos. So until we meet next time, all I can say is let us win together.